Conflicts for Jihad. In May 2021, a 96-year-old businessman died in Rome, Italy. In his lifetime, Ahmed Idris Nasreddin might have amassed a personal fortune of close to $500 million. But the death of NASCO Group's multimillionaire founder barely made the news. At first glance, the only extraordinary thing about his life story was that it embodied the African entrepreneurship dream. Nasreddin was an Eritrean who moved to Jos in Plateau State and grew his small manufacturing business, into a $460 million conglomerate involved in everything from breakfast cereal and confectionery to pharmaceuticals, real estate, and energy. After many years of growth and success, he eventually handed his sprawling business empire over to his son, Atia Nasreddin, and retired at an old, satisfied age. In an official statement released after Nasreddin's death in May, Plateau State Governor Simon Lalong said, "NASCO has over the years remained a major employer of labor in Plateau and continues to contribute to economic prosperity of the state and Nigeria at large through tax revenue and corporate social responsibility." Well, that was the cover story anyway. In reality, as it is so often the case in Nigeria, the gap between the facts and the information released to the public is so wide as to be scarcely believable. What on earth could this shrewd, respectable businessman who looked like he could not hurt a fly have done to put him in the same article as a story about the world's deadliest terrorist organization? Why would the brand he built, which to many Nigerians evokes memories of a beloved childhood breakfast staple, appear in the same sentence as Boko Haram? To answer these questions, our story begins on another continent in 1955, some 8 years before his father would move to Nigeria and establish NASCO Group. A scholar from Zamfara. The year is 1955, and a 33-year-old Islamic scholar from Gumin in modern-day Zamfara state has made his way to Mecca for his first Hajj pilgrimage. Alongside him is a certain Ahmadu Bello, who is the premier of northern Nigeria. During this trip, the scholar impresses both Ahmadu Bello and the Saudi king Saud with his Arabic translation skills. He rapidly makes a big impression on many locals and clerics in Mecca. These relationships will later become his most valuable asset following the events that take place after his subsequent return to Nigeria. Upon returning to Nigeria, he takes up positions teaching Arabic studies at Islamic schools in Kano and Kaduna. His style of teaching focuses on educating his students about the differences between Islamic religious doctrine and local customs. Based on his strict Sunni understanding of the Quran, he teaches his students to adopt a pure Islamic identity at the expense of practices that he considered bid'ah, roughly translated as innovation or corruption. Bid'ah is further broken down to mean the Sharia definition of bid'ah is a newly invented way, beliefs, or actions in the religion in imitation of the Sharia prescribed law by which nearness to Allah is sought, but not being supported by any authentic proof, neither in its foundations nor in the manner in which it is performed. He also becomes the first Islamic scholar to translate the Quran from Arabic into Hausa, which puts him in a uniquely influential position comparable to that of Ajayi Crowther in 19th century southwestern Nigeria. Using this leverage, he becomes an increasingly powerful figure in northern Nigeria, with his essentialist view on Islamic doctrine gaining popularity. To him, the existing Sufi orders of northern Nigeria are polluted with bid'ah and unfit for purpose. He becomes well known for attacking the Tijana and Qadriya brotherhoods during his appearances on Radio Kaduna, while advocating for a return to Islamic purity. Following the death of his friend and benefactor Ahmadu Bello, the scholar finds himself in a precarious situation. The new Nigerian federal government, led by soldiers, has a motive to crack down on anyone who is outspoken and influential. He may be a giant in northern Nigeria, but he is a giant with feet of clay. His solution is to seek financial, doctrinal, and political help from his friends in Mecca. The Saudis, as always, are ready to help. And let me add here that the Saudi Arabia and the United States knew all along about this, that Saudi-based charities raise money to fund Islamic uprising in countries like Nigeria. Saudi-based charities were supportive of those that bombed the 9/11, the Twin Towers in New York. Those in Saudi Arabia were behind Osama bin Laden, and they are still supporting Islamic uprising that is going on in Nigeria by the Fulani and current government of Nigeria. The United States knows all about this. They are not responding to it. Instead, they think it is to stoke up war, tension, proxy war against Russia in Ukraine. His Saudi backers are keen to use him to espouse the Saudi Arabian state's official interpretation of Islam, which is based on the work of 18th century Islamic scholar Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab. His fundamentalist doctrine, often known as Wahhabism, fits very closely with the teachings of our hero in northern Nigeria, and he enthusiastically sets about gathering support for this new Saudi-funded project. In the 2009 book, The Wahhabi Mission and Saudi Arabia, historian David Cummins says, the Saudi-funded Muslim World League, also sent missionaries to West Africa, where it funded schools, distributed religious literature, and gave scholarships to attend Saudi religious universities. These efforts bore fruit in Nigeria's Muslim northern region, with the creation of a movement, the Izala Society, dedicated to wiping out ritual innovations. Essential texts for members of the Izala Society are Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab's treatise of God's unity and commentaries by his grandsons. Reaching out to his elsewise students across Kaduna and Kano over the course of the 1970s, the scholar-turned-politician slowly builds a coalition of strategically aligned individuals who will someday become very powerful people in northern Nigeria. In 1978, one of his prominent students, Sheikh Ismaila Idris, takes charge of this increasingly powerful but somewhat unofficial movement and calls it Jamal Istatil Bidar wa Ikamatus Sunnah, Society of Renewal of Innovation and Re-establishment of the Sunnah, also known as JIBWIS. JJBWIS, based in Jos and known colloquially as the Izala movement. This organization will go on to become the most influential Islamic body in Nigeria over the next few decades. Its members will become some of Nigeria's most revered imams and clerics. They will achieve high ranks in the Nigerian armed forces. Sheikh Gumi, the one that is meeting with terrorists across the north, the spokesperson of the jihad, the Islamization and jihadi movement sweeping across Nigeria. He is of this school of thought, the Izala movement. The current Minister of Communication, Issa Pantami, is of the Izala movement. JIBWIS will come to exert a level of influence over Nigeria's national politics, national security, and governance that is unprecedented for a religious body in Nigeria. Soon it will become almost impossible to achieve power in many parts of northern Nigeria without identifying with the Izala movement. Among other things, the scholar states that Muslims should never accept a non-Muslim as ruler, which can be interpreted as a call for insurrection against a Christian Nigerian president. He is never held to account for this statement. In any case, he no longer believes that writing books or teaching people about Islam will, on their own, lead to an Islamic renaissance in northern Nigeria. Now he is all about partnership and politicking. He maintains his membership in northern Nigeria's legacy Islamic group, Jamal Nasrul Islam Group for the Victory of Islam. But he is unmistakably the beating heart of the new Izala movement. To all intents and purposes, this is the birth of modern Salafist Islam in Nigeria, and they are in government as we speak. Without firing a shot or winning an election, this Islamic scholar has become one of the most powerful men in northern Nigeria. His name is Abubakar Mahmood Gumi. That's the person I was talking about. Abubakar Gumi, a former captain in the Nigerian military turned Islamic scholar, being funded by Saudi Arabia. The clerics, the Saudis, and what happened in Algeria. By the way, this is a footnote, editor's note. Sheikh Ahmad Abubakar Gumi is the son of Abubakar Mahmood Gumi, the close friend of Ahmadu Bello. Keep track of this whole development. The clerics, the Saudis, and what happened in Algeria. This will be in series. This will be part 1. Fast forward 33 years. It is Christmas Day in 2011, and Abubakar Gumi has been dead for over 19 years. A bomb suddenly goes off at St. Teresa Catholic Church, Madala, on the outskirts of Abuja, killing 35 people and wounding a further 52. Almost simultaneously, a series of coordinated bomb attacks and shootings take place at churches in Jos, Gadaka, and Damaturu. An obscure Islamist group calling itself Boko Haram claims responsibility for the attacks. You see Abubakar Gumi's connection? During the trial of the main suspect, Kabiru Umar, a.k.a. Kabiru Sokoto, 2 years later, a masked witness claims that an Algerian Islamist group provided funding and support worth 40 million naira or $250,000 then, at the time, to carry out the attacks. To the general public, it is unclear what the link is between Islamists in northern Nigeria and well-funded terror groups in North Africa. To those in the know, however, the incidents of December 25, 2011 are not only expected, but are likely to intensify and become more regular. This is because while the Nigerian public up to this point has been fed with what amounts to a tiny percentage of the actual story behind the Boko Haram group, this group has in fact been incubating and nurtured on the highest level of theological, economic, political spaces in northern Nigeria. Boko Haram in reality is so much bigger than Mohammed Yusuf and Abubakar Shekau that reducing it to those two men serves to miss the actual story spectacularly. Mind you, this is 2022. ISIS moved into northern Nigeria about the time United States and its allies chased them out of northern Syria and Iraq. They relocated to West Africa. And in fact, I think it was last year that ISIS executed Shekau. They killed him and took over the structures, took over the management of Boko Haram. So ISIS is in charge of Boko Haram, and ISIS has a foothold in Nigeria today. Okay, to start to get some of the picture of what Boko Haram is, and including Fulani herdsmen terrorists and where it came from, let us retreat from 2011 to 2006 to read an excerpt from a letter written by the permanent representative of Nigeria to the United Nations, Aminu B. Wali, addressed to the chairman of the Counter-Terrorism Committee. This letter is available in full online. You can get it, just search it on Facebook, and I'm going to be sharing it again. This has been shared many times. From the official repository for UN documents, written by the Nigerian government to the UN, it lays out the measures it has taken to fight terrorism in Nigeria. Take special note of the names mentioned in bold letters. It will end here. We will try part 2, but again, it probably will not exhaust, so you have to read it more online. It's titled Conflicts for Jihad, the Boko Haram Origin, Add Fulani herdsmen and other terrorists that this Abubakar Gumi has been going to the bush to visit with. If you add them up, you know where we are, how far they are out to take over Nigeria, and why you must go for referendum. Have a great day. It's Lower Niger Radio reaching out to you. It's been Stephen, your guy. Continuing on the Conflict for Jihad by David Bundeyi, a WikiLeaks cable from 2002 confirms that this arrest actually did take place, only for the suspect to be released inexplicably after 27 days in detention. Okay, let's start here. To start to get some of the picture of what Boko Haram is and where it came from, let us retreat from 2011 to 2006 to read an excerpt from a letter written by permanent representative of Nigeria to the United Nations, Aminu B. Wali, addressed to the chairman of the Counter-Terrorism Committee. The letter is available in full from the official repository for UN documents, written by the Nigerian government to the UN. It lays out the measures it has taken to fight terrorism in Nigeria. Take special note of the names mentioned in bold letters. Okay, a WikiLeaks cable from 2002 confirms that this arrest actually did take place, only for the suspect to be released inexplicably after 27 days in detention. That is Kabiru Sokoto. For those who are not aware, Yakubu Musa Kafanchan, also known as Sheikh Yakubu Musa Katsina and Yakubu Musa Hassan, is a founding member of the Izala movement, JIBWIS, and is, in fact, the current chairman of its board of trustees and the chairman of the Katsina State JIBWIS chapter. He is a widely respected Islamic cleric and a very close personal friend and public associate of No Prizes for Gazing, Isa Ali Pantami. Yes, Isa Pantami, the Minister of Communication, the one that used to preach in support of Osama bin Laden and terrorist activities. In line with Sheikh Gumi, in line with the president's aspiration, Muhammad Buhari, and mind you, it is Bello and the father to this Abubakar Sheikh Gumi that raised people like Muhammadu Buhari, Ibrahim Babangida, Abu Salam Abubakar. Those are the Ahmadu Bello with their mission still intact. They appoint religious leaders who appoint people that will go into military, that will go into government. So this is part of the takeover that is actually happening. Going far back to 1960s, to this, even before then. Okay. The minister visits Sheikh Abubakar Gumi. They interact, they take pictures, they are really communicating, interacting, meeting, and making sure that their plan is in place. That's why they are collecting the data of Nigerians. Mr. Kafanchan was even recently named as one of the 500 most influential Muslims in the world by the Royal Islamic Strategic Studies Center, a Jordanian government-affiliated NGO. More on that later. Apparently, Mr. Kafanchan has been known to the Nigerian security forces as the leader of a terror network trying to set up terror cells in Katsina and Kano as far back as 2002. Keep that date in mind because it will become even more important as we unravel this further. And also remember the introduction of Sharia laws that started in Zamfara 20 years ago by Sani Yerima, the man that went to marry a 13-year-old Egyptian, essentially buying her. According to official Nigerian government communication to the UN, this real-life Islamic terror organizer is known to have affiliation with a certain GSPC group trying to carry out terror attacks in Nigeria. And he was even arrested for it in 2002, 7 whole years before the world ever heard of a Boko Haram. Yet in 2021, he is not only a free man, but a powerful free man with access to federal ministers, state governors, and President Muhammadu Buhari himself. You can see him standing at the Juma prayer, only separated by the state governor. I believe that will be the Zamfara state governor of Katsina, at a prayer ground with Muhammadu Buhari. And then there is the GSPC angle. GSPC stands for Group Salafiste Pola Predication et le Combat. Salafist Group for Preaching and Combat. A full primer on the origin of the group and what it stands for is available, also online. Cliff Note Summary. It is an illegal Salafi terrorist organization based in Algeria which is affiliated with Al-Qaeda and the Taliban. It specializes in providing training, funding, and support to Islamist and jihadi fighters around the world using a vast global network of smugglers, money launderers, and rat lines. Which brings us to the second name in the above letter excerpt, Alhaji Sharu Haruna. In the Nigerian government's own words, is a GSPC agent who funds the activities of people like Kabiru Sokoto by laundering proceeds from smuggled goods. He too was arrested and held on terror financing charges. Somehow he too is not only a free man today, but a powerful one in his own right too. So when people call Muhammadu Buhari a terrorist leading president, this is just breaking it down. It will not surprise the reader to find out that Alhaji Haruna is also a ranking member of the Izala movement. According to these posts I dug up from Facebook accounts linked to the Kano State Izala movement chapter, Alhaji Haruna is the deputy president of the Kano State chapter of JIBWIS. Like Yakubu Kafanchan, his indicted terror founder not only retains his position in Nigeria's most influential Muslim body, but is also a respected Islamic preacher with access to the who is who of Nigeria's politics and governance. Even more interestingly, even when I do some digging into Mr. Haruna, I discover something potentially even more alarming. It will be recalled that in September 2021, CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele claimed that a significant portion of dollars bought by Bureau de Change operators in Nigeria goes into illegal importation of arms. Speaking at the end of the monthly Monetary Policy Committee meeting, he said, whether it's Boko Haram, kidnappings, and all sorts of nefarious activities, BDCs take our country's dollar and sell to, that is the Bureau de Change sellers, take our country's dollar and sell to people to go and buy arms and ammunition to come and hurt us. So those that are providing for the exchange to the Boko Harams are still members of and supporters of Boko Haram. Those of them in government and those of them at the street level selling currency. uh, the only salvation for Nigeria is a referendum, multi-regional referendum. Everything else is just a waste of time. That's what people want us to continue to do. We cannot do any longer. We can't. If you have any legal, legitimate business you want to conduct, please take your business to a bank. They will sell you Forex. At what rate? A search of Nigeria's Corporate Affairs Commission database for the name Sharu Haruna turns up a plethora of companies registered under the Dan Daima name. A man identified by the Nigerian government itself as a security threat for funding terror via money laundering was somehow allowed to own and operate a Bureau de Change Center, which, according to the CBN governor, could well have been doing precisely that, funding terror. A CBN circular from October 2020 confirms that at least as recently as last year, Haruna Sharu was allowed to run a BDC in Nigeria, potentially giving him access to do the very funding that he should not have under any circumstances, that is providing foreign exchange to terrorist group. A glance at one other Dema business entity shows that even the email address used to register this entity, purportedly a petroleum company, albeit one with zero identifiable corporate footprint, belongs to Dan Dima, the BDC owner, which says everything about how important the BDC is to Haruna Sharu. The question left answered is, why? Well, these are the people that have provided Nigerians with government operatives, ministers, preachers who are going into the bush, meeting with terrorists. Basically, people they send to the bush, they meet with them officially, they take pictures, they give them money, they exchange, they interface, they interact. Now, this is why Nigerians are. And then when you are talking about referendum, a lot of people will tell you they don't understand what you're saying. Referendum is for you to demand, you know what, you are fed up with the way things are going, and you don't want to kill people or people kill you in the process of walking out of Nigeria. So you are supporting referendum. That is to set you free, you and your family, you and your people. If you don't get it, please check out Nina's, www.ninasvoice.org. Follow that link and you will get more enlightened. You will know the way out of this prison. Otherwise, those that are coming after you, they have been organizing for over, before Nigeria gained independence, they've been organizing and they are still on it. They're not backing off. They're not backing off. Have a nice day. It's the radio, Lower Niger Radio. Your guy, Stephen. Again, this is the complex for jihad. What the North has been doing since this man moved into Nigeria from Eritrea. The owner, the founder of NASCO.
Ninas, where we came from, where we are, on the road to freedom. Today, we speak of Ninas, but know that the struggle for the restoration of our sovereignty did not start today. As a matter of fact, the struggle started almost as soon as the sovereignty of the ethnic nationalities was stolen by the imposition of the 1999 Constitution, which maintained a unitary government. With the end of the military regime and return to democracy, there was great hope that the country would be returned to what the people had voted for, and that existed prior to the military intervention in 1966. The hope of the country was dashed when, instead of a return to a federal governance structure with multiple self-governing and autonomous government with their own constitutions, the government was kept centralized in a federal government that kept all the power, the assets, and resources of the ethnic nationalities. Making things worse, this so-called constitution was not put to a referendum, and so was not made by the people. Deprive the citizens of their right to benefit contained in Chapter 2, made federal character unenforceable, gave the lion's share of the oil and other assets to the far north through a federal account sharing process that was exclusively weighted to favor the far north and make corruption official. Let me take you back over 2 decades of our journey. It all started when the military regime of General Abdul Salami Abubakar imposed a unitary 1999 constitution, which in turn was a wholesale rival of the 1979 constitution that was also known to be a victory charter for the Nigeria-Biafra War of 1967 to 1970. When it was made public a few weeks after inauguration of General Obasanjo as president, a better half of those in the legal profession gathered at several conferences and without much ado recognized the flaws, loopholes, and selfish intentions, then concluded that the constitution was not legitimate and would not lead Nigeria to any form of advancement. It was important that the mechanism or vehicle to set up a countrywide rejection of this forgery of a constitution was put in place. The journey commenced when in 2004, the Pro-National Conference Organization, PRONACO, was established to rework the damaged federal constitutional basis of Nigeria. PRONACO being the People's Sovereign National Conference of Ethnic Nationalities in Nigeria, convened in all ethnic nationalities, and quickly mandated its representation to go back to their people and to come up with ratified draft of how they would want to participate in the Union of Nigeria. The conference sat in plenaries across the cities of Lagos, Port Harcourt, Enugu, Jos, and Kano, then returned to Lagos for the final sitting, and in participation, conveners in the likes of Anthony Ehanoro, Wole Soyinka, Chukwu Emeka Odumego Ojukwu, and similar leaders across the territories. This resolution was an agreement derived from the composite People's Constitution as presented and defended by ethnic nationalities representation in those sequential conferences. And it is important to know that there were observers from the international community, including the US and European Union observers. In August 2006, a delegate from Castina moved the motion for adoption of the draft People's Constitution that emerged from the 29-point resolution of the conference. In furtherance of the PRONACO consensus to restore the federal basis of the Nigerian Union, in 2007, the Movement for a New Nigeria was set up as an enforcement of the consensus at the time to exclude the 12 contiguous northern states that had introduced and embraced the Sharia legal system against the secular basis for Nigeria. The Allies had insisted that democracy and Sharia system could not coexist in the same political space, hence the need for a new vehicle, the Movement for New Nigeria. On the 23rd of May 2007, MMN, through its legal counsel, filed a suit at the Federal High Court Abuja to challenge the legitimacy of the imposed 1999 Constitution, seeking the termination of the entire Constitution. At the court hearings, which had the Attorney General of the Federation representing the federal government, legal representation of the National Assembly, and others admitted the people case, which they could not defend the challenge, but insisted that the plaintiff had no locus standi. In English, the plaintiff had no status at law to bring in the case to challenge the legitimacy of the 1999 Constitution. Having acknowledged that the restoration of the people's sovereignty did not need the participation or permission of government, the joint multi-regional vehicle instituted the MMN Lagos Declaration 30th of June 2011, by which the Allies partner blocks, the Lower Niger, South-South, and Southeast, the Yoruba land, and the Middle Belt publicly rejected the Caliphate-imposed 1999 Constitution. mandating regional self-determination actions which included referendum and international outrage. In furtherance to the mandate of the MNN Lagos Declaration, the people of the Lower Niger on the 27th of April 2015 held the solemn assembly in Port Harcourt City to wholly repudiate the 1999 Constitution. In that assembly, the 1,885 ethno-linguistic map of the Lower Niger was adopted as a geographical basis of federating. The assembly mandated the distillation of character of relationship as well as asset protection and guarantee scheme to protect the asset of the indigenous people in all the blocks of Nigeria. On the mandate for international outrage of the MNN Lagos Declaration, and LNCT visited Capitol Hills, Washington, to make a case for the termination of the operation of Nigeria's 1999 Constitution at the special congressional event on Nigeria in May 2015. The team also made informal consultation for the same matter at the UN headquarters in New York in the same year. 2 years later, still in furtherance to mandate of the MNN Lagos Declaration, the Yoruba indigenous people held the Yoruba Solemn Assembly at Ibadan on the 7th of September 2017. The Assembly publicly repudiated the 1999 Constitution as the basis of the Federation of Nigeria and proclaimed the self-determination right of the Yoruba land to reclaim autonomy of Yoruba land.
Nigeria nationhood, cohesion, do we have one? I know we don't have one. Nigeria is still yearning for nationhood after her independence since 1960. Perhaps one of the greatest fault lines we have is the way itself by which we came together, cobbled together by Lord Lugard on the 1st of January 1914. Perhaps one of the most or the strongest fault lines is the way we were even named when we were formerly called Royal Niger Company Protectorates. And one young lady felt that name was too long. And she wrote an article in the London Economic Times on the 8th of January 1897. I said we should call that country, that area around the Niger area, which was how we came by the name Nigeria. We didn't really agree that we were going to be one country. The Berlin West African Conference of about 1844 to 1845 merely partitioned West Africa amongst the Portuguese, the Germans, the English people, and all that. So it was not as if we agreed to come together as one nation, which is why everyone is still suspicious of the other one. We already had the Hausa city-states, the Igbo city-states, the Karen Bonu Empire. Remember, we had great kingdoms, the Oyo Empire, the Benin Empire. Remember the great role of Oba Ovorami Nogbaise, the man who told the British, don't visit Benin during that holy month in December of 1897. And the British said they must visit. And of course, the guards who were in charge of the moat seized them and killed them. That was what led to the infamous Benin Punitive Expedition of 1898, February, led by a British who led 1,200 troops. Didn't we know about people like great kings like Oba or like King Jaja of Opobo? They were already there. Moremi, Queen Idia. So we had our set ways of life, and we were happy before the British came with their mercantilism, holding the Bible in one hand, and of course, slave trade on the other hand. a trade that was to ravage us for over 500 years before people like William Wilberforce, Thomas Clarkson, even our own Olaudo Equiano stepped in. And before the great American, Abraham Lincoln, on the 19th of November, 1863, abolished slave trade, for which, of course, he was promptly executed in 1865. So the problems have been there. That is why no Nigerian believes I am a Nigerian. If you ask me, I will say I'm from Ijukwe, a small village near Agenibode, in Esako, East Local Government Area of Edo State. Because unlike what President Kennedy once told the Americans, think not of what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. Nigerians ask themselves, what has Nigeria done for us that we are in turn expected to do much for her? That is why go around Abuja or Lagos or any city in Nigeria on Sundays and you see the various town unions, because the people believe more in their town unions, in their village enclaves, than that contraction called Nigeria, which is practicing unitarism rather than federalism. And my bishop brother narrated the history very well. The American Revolution, the independence of 1776, and of course, the Philadelphia Convention between May and September 1787, where they decided to have a more perfect union with 50 confederates coming together. They were already confederates, but they needed to have a more perfect union. It was that convention, at that convention, that they agreed on certain irreducible minimals of government: federalism, presidentialism, the doctrine of separation of powers, which had earlier in 1748 been popularized by the great French philosopher Baron de Montesquieu. It was at that conference or convention they agreed on the doctrine of judicial review. It was at that conference that Washington himself was thrown up, who became the first president of America. It was at that conference you had the great federalists like Alexander Hamilton, John James, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison. Great Americans that wrote the American Constitution, which today has just about 27 amendments and about 7,891 words. Unlike our Constitution, which is as big as a briefcase and is unworkable because it is not the people's constitution. Now, what happened at that conference is that the people decided to come together to believe in a document, in a constitution, which was people-driven. After the 50 states came together, 36 states, and then subjected it to a referendum. So I've always asked the question, why is Nigeria, why are we afraid of that word referendum when we hear of a referendum, plebiscite? Didn't we do it here at least in 1963 on the 10th of August when the Midwest region was separated from the Western region to become the fourth region in Nigeria? So referendum is not something we should be afraid of. The process by which a constitution comes into being is even more important than the contents of that constitution, which is why Nigeria derived the present constitution of 1999, that is actually decree number 24 of 1999. So the American Constitution was people-driven, unlike the Nigerian Constitution that was a militarily imposed constitution. It can never enjoy the legitimacy, the credibility, the believability, and the autonomy of the people, because it is not autonomous. It is not people-driven. So Egypt did it. They had their own constitution. Iraq, Iran, after a referendum, Kenya, South Africa, Morocco, Tunisia, Eritrea. Why can't we have our own constitution? It is not that it will solve all the problems, but it will be the beginning of the solution to the problems, so that mutual respect will come in. We cannot have national cohesion in a state of inequity, in a state of social injustice, in a state of religious intolerance, in a state or a situation where some people believe they are born to rule and others are born to serve as clappers and as hewers of wood and drawers of water. Let me end, sir. Since you are warning me, the way late MKO Abiola put it, I always like to mimic him. Great Nigerian who won the presidency but was murdered and he never reigned for one day. He said, you cannot begin to talk about peace. There are different types of peace. In fact, the most peaceful place on earth is the graveyard, the cemetery. But that is not the kind of peace we want. The kind of peace we are talking about is peace that is imbued with social justice, egalitarianism, mutual respect, religious tolerance, ethnic tolerance. That is the kind of peace we are talking about. God bless Nigeria. Thank you.
Lower Niger Radio is your station for all the amazing topics on history, culture, and self-determination. We discuss ways we can solve our collective problems created for us by seen and unseen, known and unknown elements. We take you from the starting point to your destination. We promote and uphold our cultural, social, and moral values. Tune in today and listen to amazing personalities and be entertained as well. Lower Niger Radio is your voice of liberation for the peoples of Anang, Bini, Eshan, Efik, Ibibio, Ibo, Ishekiri, Ijo, Igede, Kalabari, Ubolo, Ugoja, Ugoni, Okrika, Urobo, and others. We bring you messages of hope, truth, and trust. Lower Niger Radio, your voice of liberation from slavery.
See how it works. The amendment that allots direct funds to the local government areas automatically removes the control of the governors over the local government areas. Part of what will come with that is that INEC is also taking over the conduct of local government elections over and above the state electoral commissions that were doing that before now. Between the two, the governors are pushed aside. The governors are removed from being in control of their affairs of local government, and that means the communities across the length and breadth of Nigeria. When you combine that with the other amendment that talks about new rules for citizenship and indigenship by registration, you will then see that the grand objective of these amendments is to take hold of control of the grassroots countrywide, of the local governments countrywide, and also make provision for how the invaders, the Fulani, will be documented as indigents and citizens across the length and breadth of Nigeria. Between the two, I tell you, you have lost your sovereignty, you've lost your land, because it is whoever INEC will process that will become council chairman. And it is whatever the council chairman will do that will become what you get to see. The RUGA, the whole purpose is to give a head start to the RUGA that have been rejected in all the forms it had come before. They've come in the name of local government autonomy to curb corruption and all that kind of nonsense. It is for the purpose of giving constitutional framework to the RUGA that they've been planning all this while. That's just what it is. There's no other thing to this whole amendment charade.
Because what you are asking, hold on one minute, is that this constitution should not be. And you expect that a total overhaul. Let me finish. You want a total overhaul of this constitution, and you liken it to the South African appetite. Okay, tell us the process to get into what you are saying, because the president also, do not forget, assumed office, or all the people you expect to do something about it, assumed office based on this document. So what is your practical step to getting this done?
South Africa in 1990 came to this bus stop where we have just arrived. The sitting government that was elected, and there was a parliament, Frederick de Klerk, he now, for the first time up to that time, accepted that the apartheid constitution could no longer be the basis of the South African society, because it was imposed by a white minority to take the lands and the rights of the blacks, and that is exactly what we have here. The Jaw lost their land and their oil and gas to Nigeria because some military president under Gowa seized it by decree. The Lagos port belongs to Lagos people. Nigeria takes more than 2 trillion naira from this port every year, but from independence to date, not one controller general of custom of Yoruba origin. And therefore, if Gani Adams now say, how did we come to this? And he pick up and the discussion that should be holding is one in which the government of the day will have to accept that this apartheid constitution can no longer be the basis of Nigeria. We are not anarchists. In the suit we filed in 2007 against the constitution, we asked the court to give an order that will compel them within a period of 18 months to remain in office and work out that discussion that will lead to a new constitution. That's not too much to ask for, because South Africa did it. They accepted that the apartheid constitution had to go, and they called everybody.
Now, it's relying on them to work out a new constitution.
No, they are not saying so. In that terms of reference, they say how to incorporate whatever.
No, I'm asking you how you intend to arrive at a new constitution.
How it will arrive at is that the people, those who are trapped here, before going to make a central constitution, because a federation should have a federation of many constitutions. Up to 1966, we had 5 constitutions, because each of the federating units were like countries of their own that were now coming to cooperate, like Germany and France and Portugal doing European Union. That was the kind of constitution Awolowo had to manage Western region. That was the kind of constitution Obara had to manage Eastern region. But some people woke up in 1966, threw all of those things away, and now locked us into this unitary arrangement. So we're saying that the first step is to ask those who will come, because tomorrow morning they will now begin to announce the names of their friends who are going to meet. We are not going to pay any attention to whatever government does. The conference is already on, and steps are being taken to take a referendum from those who are working their way out of this union, because the union has collapsed. If we do not accept in good time that it has collapsed and go to sit down to discuss how we will revive it, I tell you that under the instruments available to those who are choked here, and 3.5 million people have been killed in eastern Nigeria on this same question. OD have been wiped out, Okerenkoko have been wiped out, Obakere have been wiped out. All kinds of things are going on. Just the other day, 78 students were massacred in their sleep, because some people must be in power in Nigeria. They say they will make the country ungovernable, and they are making it ungovernable to date. And we are still thinking that there's a Nigeria. That Nigeria that will include a Sharia belt, in which I cannot function in Sokoto or Kano or Maiduguri. I will not be part of that Nigeria. I will rather invest all my energy in how to take out my portion. If those who are saying they are conquered us and they are going to keep us by all means for all times insist that we cannot discuss, then we'll do whatever comes within our reach to do to take our portion.
Now, let me ask you, Mr. Nadi,
yes.
if at the end of the day we are having reactions from Afenifere, for instance, we are having reactions from Ohanes and Igbo, we are having reactions from Arewa Consultative Forum,
been with all
how
of them.
be it speaking, saying that they do not, they will not agree for the name sovereign to be added to whatever conference. Now, let me ask you,
yes.
Would you say
yes.
that these groups do not represent the blocks which they say they represent?
They do not speak for
and
the people.
If you do not agree with their representation,
yes.
who are the people that you are talking to at this at this point about
back to 75%? Tambuwa said that all of them politicians constitute only 25%. He said it on the floor of National Assembly the day they resumed last week or so, that they constitute only 25% of the country's population. I'm here to speak on behalf of that unrepresented.
And the Arewa is not speaking for
no, they all have vested interests. They all have things they share with their people in government. What we're saying is that let us accept that Nigeria was not our making in 1914.
let us accept that the little discussion we had all the way to 1960 got toppled in 1966. Let us then accept that the product of that toppling, which is the current constitution, because from 1966 to date, all the 36 states that were created, who created them? Now they call me Abia State or Imo State or somebody else, Bayelsa State. None of the people in those places, like Delta State, cannot, the people of Delta in some areas were agitating for some autonomy. You now create a state and put the capital in Asaba. From that time to date, Delta State had not been the project of Ijo, Urobo, Ishekiri,
okay,
and all of
Mr.
them.
Nadi, would you not rather wait? Let's just see this process. No, because you have acknowledged that this is actually an act of statesmanship by Mr. President.
I commend him. I commend him.
At least to have you, to prove you right or wrong. Is it not a bit too early?
I was actually expecting to see your name in that list.
Of course, they know they will not put my name on any list of people who are going to be discussing, who are going to a meeting in which Nigeria is held sacrosanct, in which somebody will write in the terms of reference that the outcome of the conference will be integrated into a constitution, meaning that they want to preserve that constitution by all means. And we are saying we will not touch one alphabet from inside this constitution. So these are the two grounds, these are the two positions that will have to be married through the next few days.
But in the event that this conference is convoked,
yes,
in the event that the different nationalities meet and do discourse,
yes,
would you now throw away all of that? Because your view can be seen as extreme. It is either all or nothing.
Do you think there is no halfway? There's no halfway in the matter of reconstruction. If you want to put a 40-story structure on this ground now, you know it will take it. But the first thing that will happen is that bulldozer has to enter here to level it, to be able to put up a new structure. Anything that is built on this foundation of falsehood, and if you let us take it down to our people, in saying that we the people, we're saying that we have submitted by ourselves. So it's a forged signature by which Nigeria is selling 3 million barrels of crude oil every day and sharing the money, $250 million every single day in Abuja, to the exclusion of the owners. If you come to the provisions inside the Constitution, you then begin to see a chapter 2 that provides for all the good things of life, but a clause in section 6C, and shame on the lawyers in Nigeria, including the justices up to the Supreme Court, that will hold this document up and say it's a constitution. Because those who wrote it had taken all of the content of the Treasury as their own by that provision, to say that nothing is for the citizen except as they deem fit. That is the unjust.
So Nadi, before we let you go on this segment, like Victor asked, and yes, it's the heart of the matter.
The thing to do is to
allow
the ethnic nationalities
and have this discussion without what you are saying, and this scales through.
If somebody,
what does that
Abacha held a conference, but Obasanjo held a conference. What happened to them? Because somebody sat in Abuja, like David Mark is sitting, to tell us that it is how they do it that we have to accept. What we're saying is that they must accept that sovereignty belongs to the people and let them organize themselves and send those who they will truly wish to discuss their future for them in a conference that will end in a referendum.
Thank you, sir, for coming.
Thank you very much, sir, for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
We have been speaking to Mr. Tony Nadi, who is the Secretary General of the Lower Niger Congress and the convener Movement for New Nigeria. Thank you once again.
The story have never changed. It's the same thing. All the cosmetic measures being applied on Nigeria to make Nigeria, to get Nigeria going, is not working, because everything that is being done by the senators, by the members of the House, or even executive branch or the judiciary, they are all skirting around the fact that the foundation is faulty. Nigeria's foundation, rooted on 1999 Constitution, is a fraud, and you don't expect this fraud to fix itself. Nigeria needs a surgical operation. That's the only thing that will work.
Anything that will make you depend on this country called Nigeria, you are finished. You are doomed. Because you are suffering, you are smiling. Not punish the people that went and nominate the Jagaban of Lagos, Tinubu. Stupid Nollywood people that is supposed to be thinking about the people that die in crooked. They are busy endorsing Jagaban as the next president. President will kill them there.
John Okafor, Ibu.
If Jagaban rule this country as Nigeria, will leave this country. You will not see me again. He will not come. I say, stupid man. He cannot come back to do what? Old man like that. Old man, when we are still alive,
people are engaged on talking about who will be the next president of Nigeria, a country that is already gone beyond recovery. I mean, what is Tinubu trying to do? Or who else? All those people that are pushing or angling toward election, like they don't see the signs, they don't see the handwriting on the wall, they don't see that Nigeria is completely gone. Our people are pathetic. Like they are ready to do whatever because they don't care. They have no regard for the people.
anything that we, Sabi. Anybody that we endorse Tinubu, that person family, that will not enjoy 2022.
That's it. It's not over yet. Here is a prayer by the elders of Mbieri, where some criminals went to kidnap their Eze. I'm not sure if he's the one they killed and displayed in the marketplace or another one, but this is another prayer that is in line with the one we just had now. The number of people needs to be completely dealt with, and let these prayers come through upon them. Following the kidnap of Eze Madumere, the Eze of Mbieri, the Eze of Mbieri gathered at Oriemberi to make incantations and prayers for the release of their fellow Igwe. The prayer itself is against all criminal activities by different groups and state actors across our land. May this prayer come true upon them. Amen. May there be no elders among them, among the killers.
Lenye nonu. Shai ga megene. Ele ne ho nyarere. Chineke ebidigwe. Ele ebenu. Anya kpoku ogi. Biazanyo. Biazanyo. Ta echi. Muhaha. Muhaya. Muhaya. Usubana haga haya. Ekurra hajo. Anya to poji eke.
Here is testimony of a woman in the north that was kidnapped by the Islamic terrorists who are targeting Christians across Nigeria, including Muslims as well. But their main target is are the Christians because they are targeting across Benue State, Christian groups, communities in the north, in the east, in the southwest, all over southern Nigeria. These terrorists are going across state lines, doing all sorts of criminal activities. Here is one of the women that recently got released and what she had to say.
I saw horror. Wallahi tallahi idan abu yana kama da yawm al-qiyama. Allah ina gana gan shi when I was in captivity. I saw that. I saw horror. I still have nightmares, bad nightmares. Sai an rike na har yau har gobe. Akan horrors din da na gani. Akan horrors din da na gani. That's why I left Nigeria. That's why I'm here. But wallahi tallahi, if you have not been through what we've been through, a lot of us that have been in captivity and been raped multiple times by terrorists, you would not know. You would not know the pain. You would not know the agony. Nobody stood. Nobody believed me. Nobody said anything. Nobody helped me.
What a sad situation.
No one. And that's what's happening right now to our children. That's what's happening right now to our children. They're being killed. Nobody's believing them. Nobody's saying anything. I'm angry. Nobody's accepting any refugee from northern Nigeria. Nobody. I was raped. I was raped. I was raped by terrorists. I was raped. I was naked. I still have marks on my arm. I know what's going on. I know the pain.
The Islamic terrorists are raping women, raping young people, everybody. And Muhammadu Buhari is struggling to call them terrorists. He is struggling to tag them terrorists. That's the government Nigeria have today. Terrorists are running Nigeria essentially. Terrorists are running Nigeria. This woman is almost hurting herself. She's been raped multiple times. Nigeria. Nigeria has mortgaged her future. And Ninas presents a golden opportunity to have Nigeria sorted out through referendums, multi-regional referendums, in the Lower Niger Territory, in the Oduduwa Nation, and Middle Belt Nation. That will save the day.
Ninas, where we came from, where we are, or the road to freedom. Today, we speak of Ninas, but know that the struggle for the restoration of our sovereignty did not start today. As a matter of fact, the struggle started almost as soon as the sovereignty of the ethnic nationalities was stolen by the imposition of the 1999 Constitution, which maintained a unitary government. With the end of the military regime and return to democracy, there was great hope that the country would be returned to what the people had voted for, and that existed prior to the military intervention in 1966. The hope of the country was dashed when, instead of a return to a federal governance structure with multiple self-governing and autonomous government with their own constitutions, the government was kept centralized in a federal government that kept all the power, the asset, and resources of the ethnic nationalities. Making things worse, this so-called constitution was not put to a referendum, and so was not made by the people, deprived the citizens of their right to benefit contained in Chapter 2, made federal character unenforceable, gave the lion's share of the oil and other assets to the far north through a federal account sharing process that was exclusively weighted to favor the far north and make corruption official. Let me take you back over 2 decades of our journey. It all started when the military regime of General Abdul Salami Abubakar imposed a unitary 1999 constitution, which in turn was a wholesale rival of the 1979 constitution that was also known to be a victory charter for the Nigeria-Biafra War of 1967 to 1970. When it was made public a few weeks after inauguration of General Obasanjo as president, a better half of those in the legal profession gathered itself on conference and without much ado recognized the flaws, loopholes, and selfish intentions, then concluded that the constitution was not legitimate and would not lead Nigeria to any form of advancement. It was important that the mechanism or vehicle to set up a countrywide rejection of this forgery of a constitution was put in place. The journey commenced when in 2004, the Pro-National Conference Organization, PRONACO, was established to rework the damaged federal constitutional basis of Nigeria. PRONACO being the People's Sovereign National Conference of Ethnic Nationalities in Nigeria, convened in all ethnic nationalities, and quickly mandated its representation to go back to their people and to come up with ratified draft of how they would want to participate in the Union of Nigeria. The conference sat in plenaries across the cities of Lagos, Port Harcourt, Enugu, Jos, and Kano, then returned to Lagos for the final sitting, and in participation, conveners in the likes of Anthony Ehanuro, Wole Soyinka, Chukwu Emeka Odumego Ojukwu, and similar leaders across the territories. This resolution was an agreement derived from the Composite People's Constitution as presented and defended by ethnic nationalities representation in those sequential conferences. And it is important to know that there were observers from the international community, including the US and European Union observers. In August 2006, a delegate from Castina moved the motion for adoption of the draft People's Constitution that emerged from the 29-point resolution of the conference. In furtherance of the PRONACO consensus to restore the federal basis of the Nigerian Union, in 2007, the Movement for a New Nigeria was set up as an enforcement of the consensus at the time to exclude the 12 contiguous northern states that had introduced and embraced the Sharia legal system against the secular basis for Nigeria. The Allies had insisted that democracy and Sharia system could not coexist in the same political space, hence the need for a new vehicle, the Movement for New Nigeria. On the 23rd of May 2007, MMN, through its legal counsel, filed a suit at the Federal High Court Abuja to challenge the legitimacy of the imposed 1999 Constitution, seeking the termination of the entire Constitution. At the court hearings, which had the Attorney General of the Federation representing the federal government, legal representation of the National Assembly, and others admitted the people case which they could not defend the challenge, but insisted that the plaintiff had no lucus standi. In English, the plaintiff had no status at law to bring in the case to challenge the legitimacy of the 1999 Constitution. Having acknowledged that the restoration of the people's sovereignty did not need the participation or permission of government, the joint multi-regional vehicle instituted the MMN Lagos Declaration 30th of June 2011, by which the Allies partner blocks, the Lower Niger, South-South, and Southeast, the Yoruba land and the Middle Belt publicly rejected the Caliphate-imposed 1999 constitution, mandating regional self-determination actions which included referendum and international outrage. In furtherance to the mandate of the MNN Lagos Declaration, the people of the Lower Niger on the 27th of April 2015 held the solemn assembly in Port Harcourt City to wholly repudiate the 1999 Constitution. In that assembly, the 1,885 ethno-linguistic map of the Lower Niger was adopted as a geographical basis of federating. The assembly mandated the distillation of character of relationship as well as asset protection and guarantee scheme to protect the asset of the indigenous people in other blocks of Nigeria. On the mandate for international outrage of the MNN Lagos Declaration, an LNCT visited Capitol Hills, Washington, to make a case for the termination of the operation of Nigeria's 1999 Constitution at the special congressional event on Nigeria in May 2015. The team also made informal consultation for the same matter at the UN headquarters in New York in the same year. 2 years later, still in furtherance to mandate of the MNN Lagos Declaration, the Yoruba indigenous people held the Yoruba Solemn Assembly at Ibadan on the 7th of September 2017. The Assembly publicly repudiated the 1999 Constitution as the basis of the Federation of Nigeria and proclaimed the self-determination right of the Yoruba land to reclaim autonomy of Yoruba land.
Notes on the self-determination goal of the NINA's campaign and the formations for the reinstatement of suppressed sovereignty. NINA Secretariat, December 2, 2021. As we advance towards the terminal stages of the processes for the reinstatement of self-determination and sovereignty to the peoples of the NINA's alliance territories, South and Middle Belt, trapped in the failed Lugadian experiment of 1914, whose sovereignties are currently suppressed and subsumed under the suzerainty of unitary Nigeria, erected by fiat upon the fraudulent 1999 Constitution of Nigeria. It has become necessary to once more shed some light on the formations in which the reinstatement of suppressed sovereignties are being undertaken. From the onset, as can be verified by a review of all our public communications documents, including audiovisuals over the years, the goal of the entire intervention we have driven since 1999 as PRONACO, MNN, and NINAS had always been to deliver the sovereignty of the peoples of Nigeria back to them. Subject to referendums and plebiscites, the formations in which the sovereignties would be pursued and taken back are also clearly articulated, hence the maps that accompany our propositions at each stage. Prior to the emergence of the NINAS map, which shows a 4-block internal delineation, the MNN map of Nigeria, broken into 4 blocks, has been in the public domain since the 2007 court suit challenging the legitimacy of the 1999 Constitution. The 4-block map represents the formations in which the inevitable union reconfiguration that would follow the demise of the irreversible 1999 Constitution is being discussed and undertaken, all the way to referendums and plebiscites. Just like the question of geographical formations for aggregating, the degree of autonomy desired by the peoples of each of the blocks in the NINAS alliance will also be determined by the referendums and plebiscites. The two questions, that is, geographical formations and degree of autonomy, can consolidate for resolution in the one referendum or plebiscite. These notes of clarification became necessary as a response to what seems like a confusion, real or contrived regarding the formations in which the peoples of each bloc in the Ninas Alliance will step into their freedom when the bondages of unitarism and suzerainty masquerading as Nigeria are broken, as well as the degree of autonomy represented by the self-determination being sought on their behalf by Ninas and its constituent components. All other arrangements regarding relationships between the various blocs in the Ninas Alliance will be undertaken in freedom and self-determination, meaning that such arrangements will be determined strictly by agreements freely reached by the blocs, not by fiat or any form of imposition. May we request that those who understand these clarifications to please explain to others who may not. It is an important part of the liberation campaign to educate and enlighten the people seeking the liberation, as it has become clear to us that the ignorance of most of our people has been a great obstacle to our path to freedom, and that ignorance is being exploited by sundry mischief makers for all kinds of purposes, including quick gains. Here is a post shared by Simon Okube Ekwi, and it sounds very prophetic and appears to be on its way to fulfillment unless Nigerians, and by this I mean Southern and Middle Belt, wakes up and do the needful now. The target goal is not to stop people from voting. The goal is for you to run your campaign in your region, in your block, in such a way that your politicians are compelled to close shop. You sensitize your people enough, and to the extent that the people and or through their priests, pastors, traditional rulers, lawyers, NGOs, social influencers, in the marketplace, I add, start calling for multi-regional referendums in place of the Fulani INEC validation of the 1999 repudiated constitution, which opens the massacre gate. If for any reason 2023 holds, like people were warned in 2015 and 2019, but they stubbornly followed deception, the harvest of blood will continue and Fulanization and the jihadi agenda will continue. However, those of us who believe in and ardently supporters of Lower Niger Congress and Nina's proposition will continue our work. Just like Kodesa did in South Africa, remember Noah continued to build the ark despite the mockery from those who did not believe that horrendous rainfall, which is full Fulanization and Islamization, will come one day. And that flood did come. It did come. Only those that made it into the ark got saved. I must add that. Another example from history. Britain hates Igbos so much because of their stubbornness and the tough time they gave them while trying to stop colonization. For example, they tagged the 1966 coup, Igbo coup, as a setup and strategy to whip Ndigbo. Ndigbo lost nothing less than 3.5 million plus 2 million children starved to death. The aim was to wipe the entire Igbo race. Did they succeed? All that has happened, Ndigbo received all that whipping, still receiving, but is what Ndigbo warned the rest of Nigeria not happening now? I mean, look at the killings going on across the Middle Belt. Look at Kaduna. Indigenous Christians who are actually the owners of entire Kaduna, some of them are now making excuses for the Fulani as the Fulani are killing their people and taking over their lands. That's the most tragic one. Just like Ndigbo that sabotaged the war on the side of Nigeria. And those sabotaging it today by killing our people and locking down our places in the name of an imaginary, elusive Biafra that doesn't exist. only in their emotional life. That warning and campaign is on again now. Some people, rather than sit down to study and understand this almighty and all-encompassing strategy for the indigenous people's self-determination, have again chosen to distract others with trivialities. Others think Tony Nnadi Esquire, the attorney, is their headache. When the real rainfall starts, everyone will perish and or be swallowed up. It is already happening in the northeast and middle belt, Plateau, Benue, Kaduna, Zamfara, Nasarawa, etc. It's also happening in Oyo State, in Enugu State, in Ebonyi State, in Anambra State, Imo State, Abia State, Cross River, all over the place. These people are causing havoc. Everything cannot be politicized. Thanks, and stay at peace. From the LNC, it's been Stephen.
Anything that will make you depend on this country called Nigeria, you are finished. You are doomed. Because you are suffering, you are smiling. Not punish the people that went and nominate the Jagaban of Lagos, Tinubu. Stupid Nollywood people that is supposed to be thinking about the people that die in Doggett. They are busy endorsing Jagaban as the next president. President will kill them there. If Jagaban rule this country as Nigeria, will leave this country. You will not see me again. He will not come. I say, stupid man. He cannot come back to do what? Old man like that. Old man, when we are still alive, young men like us, you rule our grandfather, you rule our great-grandfather, you rule our father. You want us, you don't even rule us. You want to rule our grandchildren.
And he knows Sabi. He knows Sabi.
Anybody that will endorse Tinubu, that person family, they will not enjoy 2022.
Hey.
Anybody that will endorse Tinubu for presidency, bad thing will begin to happen to that person.
Amen.
Your Nollywood career is dead. Your Nollywood career is dead. Ibabu. Now be said na Nollywood now keep people wey die for toll gate. If they went and endorsed their king Oga Patapata as president, the man who was accused that happened about his business that was locked down in Tollgate. The same you people who are crying for the people that was killed in Tollgate to come and they need justice. The same you people went and endorsed Tinubu. God punish them. Stupid John Okafor, get out! I'm ashamed. The little small respect when I get for Nollywood. The small respect when I get, I don't go spoil am.
He is speaking of the 2023. Nigerians can only get common sense now by going for referendum. 2023 will hand Nigeria over to the same people that has enjoyed taking Nigerians hostage. And so the only way people will be free and begin to experience freedom is by going for referendum vote. It makes sense to go for that and get this problem solved once and for all, for the long term. Otherwise, going for election is only buying time, extending time for the slave chain to be around our necks. We can destroy that by going against people like Tinubu and the rest of them, including Ojus Okalo. Those of them who, Rocha Sokorocha, those who see nothing wrong with Nigeria, but they want to be the Southern president of Nigeria. Yeah, Tinubu can lay claim. He will say he will contest because, after all, it is his formation. It's his alliance that put Buhari in office. So he has a foot in the door, literally. But for the interest of Southwest, for the interest of Oduduwa, for the interest of southern Nigeria, including Middle Belt, for the interest of our lower Niger territory, Middle Belt and Oduduwa land. Bola Ahmed Tinubu need to wake up from his dream and realize that the end of the slave era is here.
Let us see people endorse. You know they endorse somebody. Now just see old man wey don't die finish. Now one can come back again. We have not recovered from the Buhari they gave to us. They are bringing another one for us. Let's come and do campaign this bill. Let's come and do campaign. We'll see there. And the one what did they want to tell us for this 2023 election? Thief, criminal, hungry Nollywood. Nobody go kill now, Lord show. Bag of rice now go kill now. That money where Tinubu give now when I tell you, now go kill. That's the last money you probably eat in this life. It will never be well with you and your children. In Jesus' name. If you like me, your brother, then Nollywood and does and you don't talk amen, you use your head. Can I say in Jesus' name? Let God punish them. With a suffer, with a smile. They will do us like they will kill us. They will do this one. No light. This is what they tell for them. No light. No road. Only two things what we have. Give us light. Give us road. We don't see anyone. They say they kill us, China. Beat us, China. If we talk, they beat us, China. And if any of you vote for Tinubu in this church, if you vote for Tinubu, if you... I know you're not going to even come out self. I know say you're not going to come out. But if I see you say nah, Tinubu, now you want vote for, I will place cost for you and your full generation.
Even if any government, including this one, just have a onye na-ele biya palọ na-ele mmanya erite nri afụ ego o ji eri nri mkpọtụ ga-akarịa n'ịma diskru. Nigeria. And 65 to 70.
It's winning. Yeah. Not the gun grab. Ha. Nigeria has been having problem until, from independence actually, or before independence, the country have been under close watch of the Islamists after the British sent them packing with the amalgamation of 1914. Now, since independence, they've been scheming, they've been planning on what to do with Nigeria and Nigerians in particular. And so Muhammadu Buhari happened. All that they've been doing from 1966, including the unitary system they established, all the military coups with their changes in constitution, and the 1999 criminal constitution that Abubakar Abdul Salam handed us, all these things were designed to overpower the indigenous Nigerians. So Muhammadu Buhari showed up to actually fast-track that Othman Danfodio Ahmadu Bello mission of total conquest. They do not want Nigeria that will be equal to all Nigerians, but they want a Nigeria that they will control. That is what they are doing. That's why there is different rules in different places. That's why when members of Biafra movement showed up in the southeast, they were shot when they were not armed. That's why when Sunday Igboho came out saying that those that were disturbing the peace in their area, those that were raping and killing people, stealing their land, destroying farms, that they should leave, they hunted him and went to his house and killed probably a dozen. And even cats, like pets, were shot and taken away because they were told that Sunday Igboho changes into cats when faced with threat. Now this is the Nigeria that they want us to believe in. This is the Nigeria they are fighting everything to block the call for a referendum. The call for referendum is actually to give Nigeria a very peaceful landing. Otherwise, what awaits Nigeria is better imagined than spoken of at this time. Listen to Reverend Paul Enenche. I don't know the name of his church. Maybe the Dunamis, Dunamis Ministries. But this is Reverend Paul Enenche, Dr. Paul Enenche.
Now we have faced such level of oppressiveness in our land, such level of frustration in our land, such level of suppression, where in one segment of the nation, blood will flow like water, killings and killers will arrive, level a whole village overnight. In some cases, they will own up that they are the ones who did it for the sake of whatever reasons they claim. Nobody is arrested, nobody is prosecuted, nothing happens, no consequence. In another part of the country, probably the southwest or south or southeast, some people come out for demonstration, and before you know it, people are leveled to the ground. People are arrested. All right? So there is one law for one part and one law for another part. That is the situation we have faced so far, the situation of injustice and inequality. Now you look at the situation with appointments and positionings, and it will appear to you as if intelligent people don't exist in no other part of the country apart from some parts of the country. We have a multi-ethnic country. We have a multilingual country. We have a multi-religious country with two dominant religious bodies in the nation. But if you look at sensitive positionings, whether it's in the executive, in the judiciary, in the legislative, in the military or paramilitary,
he's talking about the Fulani.
As if there are no people.
Only Fulani. Only Fulani. They are the eggheads.
You have President Northwest Muslim. You have Senate President Northeast Muslim. You have INEC Chairperson Northwest Muslim. You have Speaker of the House of Representatives Southwest Muslim. You have Chief of Air Staff Northeast Muslim. Minister of Defense Muslim North. Chief of Army Staff, Northeast Muslim. Inspector General of Police, North Central Muslim. National Security Advisor, Northeast Muslim. Director, National Intelligence Agency, Muslim North. Director General, SSS, Northwest Muslim. Comptroller General of Immigration, Northwest Muslim. Comptroller General of Customs, North Muslim. Comptroller General of Civil Defense, Muslim North. Comptroller General of Nigeria Immigration Prison Service, Muslim North. Acting Chairman of EFCC, Northeast Muslim.
This is the execution of the colonization.
Northeast Muslim.
The colonization agenda
Muslim Northeast
is being fast-tracked by Muhammadu Buhari.
Managing Director Post Authority, Northwest Muslim. NIMASA, North Muslim. NNPC Managing Director, Northeast Muslim. Minister of Education, Northeast Muslim.
It's takeover of
National
Nigeria.
Universities Commission, Northwest Muslim. JAMB, Southwest Muslim, and so on and so forth.
Yes.
We can keep on going on and on. Someone has said that the top 20 positionings in NNPC is occupied from the same region as well. What comes to mind is there is no intelligent person and no qualified person from any other part of the country. There is no intelligent Shekiri person, no intelligent Ijaw person, no intelligent Biron person, no intelligent Magavul person, no intelligent Tif person, no intelligent Idoma person, no intelligent Igala person, no intelligent Ibira person, no intelligent Ibibio person, no intelligent Anan person, no intelligent Efik person, no intelligent Ishan person, no intelligent Bini person, no intelligent person from no other part of the country that can be in any of those sensitive positions except people from one region and one religion, and people are meant to be forced to exist in peace under that kind of upside down, highly nepotistic, clanistic situation. That is absolutely impossible. If it was a charm, it cleared. If it was a mentality bankruptcy, mentality is returned. It's impossible. There can be no peace in such level of inequality, in such level of brazen effrontery at taking a whole nation for granted.
May
Nations
God bless
of the
you, Paul
world
Enenche.
did not experience one over 100 of what Nigerians have experienced and scattered in pieces. Soviet Union is nowhere to be found. Yugoslavia was one country that scattered and splintered into 8 countries out of one country. Czechoslovakia splitted into 2. They didn't see 1 over 100 of what we are seeing. Nations in the world that are wise enough, that are multi-ethnic, did their best. The United Kingdom, even though it's a nation, has ethnic groups that took care of the ethnic groups.
Nigeria needs to go through referendum. Pastor, say it.
To the Irish and
Say
the Welsh.
it. Nigeria needs to go through referendum.
Has 4 ethnic groups, and they make their presidency sit to revolve around these 4 groups. What is the solution to the situation in our land today.
Referendum.
And there must be peace. There must be equity. There must be fairness. There must be justice. People have clamored for restructuring.
Referendum.
It is the devolution of power. Otherwise, there may be the dissolution of union.
No, the union got dissolved a long time ago.
And we pray and trust God that it doesn't happen in our nation. It's not time to play the ostrich and hide the head under. What is not confronted cannot be conquered. In medicine, we call something the debridement of wounds.
Nigerians need to go for referendum.
You clean them out. In order to repair them, you make them bleed. Truth is what heals. And if truth is not spoken, healing doesn't happen. And it is time to tell the truth. People have been suppressed, subdued, subjugated, and treated, second-rated, as if they don't have sense and they don't have reasoning. And this nation is one of the most intelligent nations in the world.
There is a government that is powering terrorists, and that is led by Muhammad Buhari.
Nigerians and Nigeria people have the highest rate of PhDs in America of any ethnic group apart from maybe Americans themselves. And it is time for us to sit up and say these things must be corrected and do the right thing, and we do the right thing on time so that Jehovah can hear us and answer our prayers.
God has answered the prayer of Nigerians, but we need to trigger it by referendum to make it a reality. And the people need to demand for it. They need to step out.
No destruction of properties in any form. Let life not flow because there is abnormality in the land. And we believe that the Lord will help us.
Things are falling apart for Nigeria.
And I know you will not remain the same. Share this link with your friends and let every one of us join forces together with God Almighty and let our land be healed and be saved. In Jesus' precious name, amen.
The healing will only start. The healing can only get triggered by the people doing the right thing, which is, in this case, a very simple one. Demand for multi-regional referendum. Reverend Paul Enenche, if you ever get to listening to Radio Lower Niger Territory, the call is for the Middle Belt, where you come from. Or I don't know where you come from anyway. But if you are part of the Nigerian First Union, Middle Belt, that is coming under genocide, being sustained by the current government of Major General Muhammad Buhari, Middle Belt that is getting targeted by Fulani coming in from West Africa, being supported by all these people you mentioned, those top positions in government, including the presidency. What will checkmate them is referendum. What will checkmate the Ruga shoreline acquisition, essentially stealing land from the indigenous nationalities. What will check it is a multi-regional binding referendum. Speak it up, Pastor, and God will bless you. See your guy, Stephen.
From Europe. They're from
Ninas, where we came from, where we are, on the road to freedom. Today, we speak of Ninas, but know that the struggle for the restoration of our sovereignty did not start today. As a matter of fact, the struggle started almost as soon as the sovereignty of the ethnic nationalities was stolen by the imposition of the 1999 Constitution, which maintained a unitary government. With the end of the military regime and return to democracy, there was great hope that the country will be returned to what the people had voted for, and that existed prior to the military intervention in 1966. The hope of the country was dashed when, instead of a return to a federal governance structure with multiple self-governing and autonomous government with their own constitutions, the government was kept centralized in a federal government that kept all the power, the assets, and resources of the ethnic nationalities. Making things worse, this so-called constitution was not put to a referendum, and so was not made by the people. Deprive the citizens of their right to benefit contained in Chapter 2, made federal character unenforceable, gave the lion's share of the oil and other assets to the far north, through a federal account sharing process that was exclusively weighted to favor the far north and make corruption official. Let me take you back over 2 decades of our journey. It all started when the military regime of General Abdul Salami Abubakar imposed a unitary 1999 constitution, which in turn was a wholesale rival of the 1979 constitution that was also known to be a victory charter for the Nigeria-Biafra War of 1967 to 1970. When it was made public a few weeks after inauguration of General Obasanjo as president, a better half of those in the legal profession gathered at several conferences and without much ado recognized the flaws, loopholes, and selfish intentions, then concluded that the constitution was not legitimate and would not lead Nigeria to any form of advancement. It was important that the mechanism or vehicle to set up a countrywide rejection of this forgery of a constitution was put in place. The journey commenced when in 2004, the Pro-National Conference Organization, PRONACO, was established to rework the damaged federal constitutional basis of Nigeria. PRONACO being the People's Sovereign National Conference of Ethnic Nationalities in Nigeria, convened in all ethnic nationalities, and quickly mandated its representation to go back to their people and to come up with ratified draft of how they would want to participate in the Union of Nigeria. The conference sat in plenaries across the cities of Lagos, Port Harcourt, Enugu, Jos, and Kano, then returned to Lagos for the final sitting, and in participation, conveners in the likes of Anthony Ehanoro, Wole Soyinka, Chukwu Emeka Odumego Ojukwu, and similar leaders across the territories. This resolution was an agreement derived from the composite People's Constitution as presented and defended by ethnic nationalities representation in those sequential conferences. And it is important to know that there were observers from the international community, including the US and European Union observers. In August 2006, a delegate from Castina moved the motion for adoption of the draft People's Constitution that emerged from the 29-point resolution of the conference. In furtherance of the PRONACO consensus to restore the federal basis of the Nigerian Union, in 2007, the Movement for a New Nigeria was set up as an enforcement of the consensus, at the time to exclude the 12 contiguous northern states that had introduced and embraced the Sharia legal system against the secular basis for Nigeria. The Allies had insisted that democracy and Sharia system could not coexist in the same political space, hence the need for a new vehicle, the Movement for New Nigeria. On the 23rd of May 2007, MMN, through its legal counsel, filed a suit at the Federal High Court Abuja to challenge the legitimacy of the imposed 1999 Constitution, seeking the termination of the entire Constitution. At the court hearings, which had the Attorney General of the Federation representing the federal government, legal representation of the National Assembly, and others admitted the people case which they could not defend the challenge, but insisted that the plaintiff had no locus standi. In English, the plaintiff had no status at law to bring in the case to challenge the legitimacy of the 1999 Constitution. Having acknowledged that the restoration of the people's sovereignty did not need the participation or permission of government, the joint multi-regional vehicle instituted the MMN Lagos Declaration 30th of June 2011, by which the Allies partner blocks, the Lower Niger, South-South, and Southeast, the Yoruba land, and the Middle Belt publicly rejected the Caliphate-imposed 1999 Constitution, mandating regional self-determination actions which included referendum and international outrage. In furtherance to the mandate of the MNN Lagos Declaration, the people of the Lower Niger on the 27th of April 2015 held a solemn assembly in Port Harcourt City to wholly repudiate the 1999 Constitution. In that assembly, the 1,885 ethno-linguistic map of the Lower Niger was adopted as a geographical basis of federating. The assembly mandated the distillation of character of relationship as well as asset protection and guarantee scheme to protect the asset of the indigenous people in other blocks of Nigeria. On the mandate for international outrage of the MNN Lagos Declaration, an LNCT visited Capitol Hills, Washington, to make a case for the termination of the operation of Nigeria's 1999 Constitution at the special congressional event on Nigeria in May 2015. The team also made informal consultation for the same matter at the UN headquarters in New York in the same year. 2 years later, still in furtherance to mandate of the MNN Lagos Declaration, the Yoruba indigenous people held the Yoruba Solemn Assembly at Ibadan on the 7th of September 2017. The Assembly publicly repudiated the 1999 Constitution as the basis of the Federation of Nigeria and proclaimed the self-determination right of the Yoruba land to reclaim autonomy of Yoruba land.
Here's an article on the prophets and the palace. When Dr. Francois Duvela, better known as Papa Doc, held Haiti and his notorious secret police Tonton Makute and voodoo gangsterism, when children in poverty-stricken Haiti had become so plentiful and so cheap that mothers openly sold their kids for 40 cents, an equivalent of less than 200 naira. It was Catholic priests who precipitated the social crisis that snowballed into the fall of that brutal regime. 2. In Idi Amin's Uganda, many of us will know about this because we watched The Rise and Fall of Idi Amin, a movie that captured the atrocities of late dictator Idi Amin Dada. Idi Amin's Uganda, the voice of the church against that demented dictator was so loud that Amin personally shot Archbishop Lowon dead, telling his aides he lost his temper and shot him. 3. When the unbridled tyranny of Nicolae Ceausescu of Romania was raging, the church courageously took the fight to him, and consequently priests and other preachers who criticized his handling of human rights were arrested and sent to institutions like the Dr. Petra Groza Hospital in Bucharest to be diagnosed and treated of bizarre diseases like political paranoia, senile dementia, persecution complex, neurotic behavior, delusion, self-preservation drive, discordant character structures, etc. Just for the listener to know, Ceausescu did not end it well. He was eventually apprehended at the airport and executed along with his wife for the many evils and crimes that he committed against the country of Romania, including extrajudicial killings of his political opponents and all those that criticized him. 4. It was from the pulpit that Martin Luther King Jr. pulled the Negroes out of the pit and altered the contours of racial segregation in the United States. Race is still an issue after the death of Martin Luther King. It is still an issue in the United States, but he did something about it as a man of the pulpit. What about those in Nigeria? What are they doing? They are grinning ear to ear with the powers that be. They are feeling good, moving in their private jets from the money they collected from the poor and the contracts they render to the government. Number 5. In the Old Testament, when Saul became king of Israel and began his vindictiveness and his misrule, Prophet Samuel was a constant thorn on his flesh. You can read this more at 1 Kings chapter 22 from verse 6 to 14. When David Number 6, became king after the death of Saul. Prophet Nathan became the conscience of the nation. Remember how Prophet Nathan confronted David on the killing of Uriah and the taking over of his wife. Seven, through the reign of kings Solomon, Rehoboam, Abijam, Asa, and Jehoshaphat in Judah, and kings Jeroboam, Nadab, Baasha, Elah, Zimri, Omri, Ahab, and Ahaziah in Israel. This was after the breakup of the country into two. There was prophet Ahijah, Jehu, Elijah, Elisha, Micaiah, and others who were continually persecuted and even killed because they remained forthright in their watch over those making political decisions. I must add that Prophet Jeremiah was actually tortured, detained. He was in underground detention cell when Israel was invaded by the armies of Nebuchadnezzar that eventually destroyed the country and took them into exile for 70 years. Jeremiah remained steadfast even while in detention. And the king that put him in detention had his eyes gouged out. In the New Testament, John the Baptist had a brush with King Herod after criticizing Herod's taking over of his late brother's wife. John was arrested, imprisoned, and later beheaded with his head on a platter for birthday to the daughter of Herod's girlfriend. Number 9. Almost all the apostles of Christ were dogged after, persecuted, locked up, and some executed, or some thrown into hot boiling oil. Not because they were common criminals, but because of their unrelenting striving to hold power accountable. 10. In the days of yore, when the powerless heard that the prophets were coming, the polished oak tables trembled right inside the palace. Today, the church and the shepherds seems to be reading another scriptures. Rather than be the conscience, the church has either given up or is busy hating. 12. Those who are vocal are either supporters of one side of the looters or the other side, either hating because their benefactor is out or supporting because their benefactor is in. None support the masses. Nobody cares about the people. Nobody cares about the people. And it came to pass that even the laity, the congregations, are not in a hurry to ask for more than what they are getting from the pulpits. The pulpit has become the point of duping our people and misleading them. Nay, they want more, but more of the same. Wake up, pulpit. Drop a pinch of salt on the tip of our tongue and let us feel the taste again. Let the pulpits pull us out again out of the pit. This was written by Citizen Abajalingo with some input from me, Stephen.